Welcome back, friends. So glad to have Skylar Gallup back in the studio to talk about another amazing guest. Now, chances are you've probably heard this name before, but how much do you really know about Josh Kraft? And this had to be a fun one because we've seen his work on the city council. We've seen him as a firefighter. And so to be able to sit down in a room and just get to know Josh a little bit better. What was that like?
It was very fun. Yeah. Similarly, I knew him from his term on council. I knew that he was a firefighter, but didn't really, just a firefighter, right? And like general firefighter. But sitting down with him, I was prepared to kind of dig into his experience being such a young member of city council. What I wasn't prepared for was to realize that not only is he a firefighter, which is very cool. So he's Randall County Sheriff's. So Paladero Canyon is in their jurisdiction. So he does like cool firefighting stuff, and he's got like all the really super dug into it. So he has like all of the I think it's called like high angle rescue training, where they're like propelling down the side of the canyon, and they're working on this first in our state program with DPS to use a helicopter to rescue people out of the canyon. And the Randall County Sheriff's Department is kind of spearheading that program. And so I kind of like got derailed myself, which is most fun. But it's like, oh, cool, let's talk about this part of your story. And then, of course, got into all of his really interesting experience on council.
So what was it that motivated him to get into politics?
Josh, you'll hear throughout, kind of woven throughout the interview, is a helper.
Okay.
Which it makes sense, firefighter, right? He talks about from when he was a little boy, kind of wanting to be the firefighter that he became. And honestly, he was frustrated by the trash situation.
Well, there's always a thing that motivates you to get out and say, I got to make a difference.
Whatever it is, let that be the thing that lights your fire. And Josh, from what I know of him, just kind of said like, well, here's an issue. Maybe I can get in there and help. And I think you hear in the interview, he wasn't quite fully aware of what all that was going to entail of getting in there to help. But he did it, and he did it when it was hard. He did it whenever there was immense pressure. You know, the time that he spent on council was a pretty tumultuous one. Yes, indeed. And we talk about it, and he kind of like names, how he found to keep his mooring amid pressure, and he's very young.
I think when he was voted, one of the youngest ones, if not the youngest, since I've been in news to ever hold that spot.
Yeah. And so Josh talks about how thankful he is that he learned those lessons so young, and kind of hints at like some potential future plans.
I was going to say, that was my next question, is whether he thought that maybe politics was going to come calling again.
Well, as a good former journalist, I tried to pin him down on an answer, and he didn't. He got out because he's got young kids, which I think nobody can fault him for. But I definitely think that we'll see Josh Kraft, if for no other reason, because I do honestly believe that he wants to help where he can help. And so he gives a really great interview and really shares some interesting lessons. Also just interesting insight, which was kind of my approach of, why I wanted to talk to Josh was, if you don't know the insides of running a city government, we like to walk around talking about Amarillo being a small town. Wait until you try to balance that budget. We are in fact a pretty large operating city, and so that also was really interesting, and I think will be informative to listeners.
We appreciate your time, Skylar, and we'll see you next week.
Always a good time. Thanks.
All right. We've got more Studio 4 coming up after this.